Previously, a massive gate abruptly appeared in the center of the highway, causing a significant traffic jam. Upon hearing about the gate, Jinwoo arrived on the scene to take care of it. Without any hesitation, he entered the gate alone. However, the gate began fluctuating unexpectedly and transformed into a red gate, leaving the officials astounded by the unusual phenomenon. Assessing the situation, Jinwoo couldn't shake the feeling that luck wasn't on his side today. Stuck inside the red gate, he regretted not informing his mother that he might be late. Surveying his surroundings, he determined it wouldn't take much time to clear out the dungeon's monsters. Confident in his abilities, he summoned his shadow soldiers, resolute in his plan to swiftly eliminate the threats. An intense battle erupted between the shadow soldiers and the monsters, but it concluded just as abruptly as it had begun. The shadow soldiers ruthlessly annihilated every monster with ease. Jinwoo walked through the ranks of his shadow soldiers, who were kneeling in a perfectly organized formation, creating a path for him to traverse. Jinwoo advanced forward, ready to confront the dungeon boss. The story shifts to USA, where a massive gate had appeared. Inside the dungeon was a man panicking, trying to get away from something while asking for its identity. In front of the man was a dark humanoid entity, who, upon looking at the man's appearance, comments that he wasn't the one either. The creature standing in front of the man is a monarch, the king of snow folk and the monarch of frost, and his name is Silid. Apparently, he entered this particular dungeon searching for the brilliant fragments of light. Before Silid was about to take the man out, he senses a portal appearing behind him, so he turns to see who it was. Upon looking, he sees another humanoid entity standing in front of him and recognizes him as the king of demonic specters and the monarch of transfiguration, and his name was Yogimund. He informs Silid that he brought urgent news for him from the other monarchs regarding the East Island. Listening to his words, Silid asks if he was referring to the small island where the monarch of shadows resides, and asks if the rest of the monarchs have finally decided to take care of that place. Yogimund informs him that according to their intel, the rulers were planning on releasing their legions south of that small island, so he was planning on taking care of that place before that happens. Silid reminds him of the Shadow Monarch, who was also present on that island, and things will get complicated if he decides to come after them. But Yogimund assures him not to worry. As long as the planner fulfills the contract, not even the Shadow Monarch would be able to stop them. After explaining everything to him, Yogimund starts smirking as he tells Silid that he had also brought some good news for him, and informs him that on that same island, they have confirmed the presence of the greatest fragment of brilliant light. Hearing him say that, a smirk forms on Silid's face as he asks if that was the reason he personally came to him to relay this information. Yogimund asks what was he planning on doing now that the location of the fragment has been confirmed, to which Silid says that he doesn't mind taking on this task, as long as he was transferring the mission to him willingly. During their conversation, Silid senses a presence that was listening to their conversation from the shadows, and informs Yogimund about him. Turning toward the man, they saw a person walking towards them, and sensing the power he possesses, Silid realizes that the power of the brilliant fragment that he was sensing from this place was coming from this person, and both of them realized that this person was planning on getting in the way of their plans. Approaching both of them, the person asks if the small island that they were talking about was Korea, to which Silid asks what he would do if they were. But Yogimund reminds him they don't have time to play with him right now. Listening to his words, Silid prepares to leave while mocking the man, telling him to try and stop them if he can. Seeing them escaping, the person instantly brings out his weapons and starts charging towards both of them to take them out before they can escape. And just as his attack was about to connect, Silid manifests an ice shield in front of him and easily manages to block the attack. With that, he prepares to counterattack, and in the next second, the whole place gets engulfed in a massive explosion. The story shifts back to Korea, outside the Red Gate, where the officials from the association were seen waiting for Jinwoo to clear the dungeon. The scene shifts to the boss of the dungeon, who, despite having no lips, somehow possessed the ability to speak. He was seen confronting someone for killing his people. In front of him was our hero, and mistaking him for a normal human hunter, the creature mocks him, saying that he was impressed that he managed to get this far with such a small body of his, and was also surprised that he possessed the ability to speak the language of the monsters. Hearing no answer, the creature tells Jinwoo that he was stupid to come after him like this and informs him that his people were already stationed in this place to ambush him and signals them to come out. But even after a couple of seconds, nothing happens and the place remains silent. Seeing this, the thing wonders what was going on. Why weren't his minions responding to his commands? And before he could understand anything, he hears Jinwoo saying that it was funny how he was mocking him for being small. With that, he tells his shadows to come out. As soon as the signal was given, the shadow army starts appearing from the forest with the defeated minions of the creature. And the thing hears Jinwoo taunting him, saying that it seems like no one is left. Watching everything, the creature was shocked as he wonders what was going on. But before he could understand his situation, he gets smacked on the face with something. The creature manages to catch the thing, and as he opens his hand, he sees that it was a head of one of his defeated minions. Turning towards our hero, the creature finds himself standing in front of an army of shadow soldiers, with Jinwoo in the middle. And as he looks at the back, he sees Tusk, who was towering over everything and had a grin on his face. Seeing this sight, the creature starts panicking as he had seemed to realize the identity of the one standing in front of him. But before he could say anything, Jinwoo signals his army to shred them to pieces. As soon as the signal was given, the shadow army starts charging towards the thing and his minions to take them out. And seeing them coming, the creatures also prepared to fight. But it was no use, as the shadow army proved too strong for them and starts to annihilate all of them like they were nothing. Meanwhile, Jinwoo was seen farming aura as he calmly walks towards the boss monster, completely ignoring the small fries that were charging toward him. And before they could reach him, Tank appears and slices both of them into pieces using his massive claws. Seeing how easily Jinwoo's army managed to shred his minions into pieces, the creature was enraged. But before he could even think about attacking Jinwoo, Baru and Igris appear, with Baru ripping through the creature's arm that was holding the weapon, and Igris slices its leg using his blade. And the thing falls to his knees with blood gushing out of his wounds. The once proud boss who mocked Jinwoo for being small looks up and sees Tusk towering over him, who had used his ability Hymn of Giants. Wasting no time, Tusk activated his ability Inverse Gravity, and the creature's massive body slams to the ground. Looking ahead, he sees Jinwoo, who is telling him he has some questions for him and warns him to answer them, as it'll be less painful for him if he does so. Fast forward. The creature's motionless body was seen lying in the pool of its own blood, and Jinwoo also looked disappointed as he wasn't able to get any vital information from this creature because the system kept on interfering. But ignoring that for now, he opens up his inventory, thinking that he would find all the answers sooner or later, and brings out the key that he acquired from the cursed random box. Recalling the Jeju Island incident, he thinks that he managed to reach level 100 during the island raid, because of which he met the minimum requirements to use this item, and hopes that he would be able to see the information about the key now. And just as he thought, he was able to see its description. The item that he was holding in his hands was the key to the Cartion Temple, but for some reason, its difficulty level was hidden. He reads that by using this item, he will be able to enter the Cartion Temple, and this key will open a specific gate, and sees a timer on the bottom after which the location of the dungeon will be revealed to him. Reading the description, Jinwoo realizes that this key will allow him to enter the same double dungeon where it all started. He realizes that for some reason the system was calling him back toward that dungeon once more, but this time, things were different from the last time, as he had grown much stronger compared to the past. He wonders if all this was planned from the beginning, which is why he was given this power to grow stronger, and if that thing was still waiting for him to return. He tells the creature if that was the case, then wait for him a bit longer. The scene shifts back to the Cartion Temple, outside the room where it all began, and the place was still filled with the same stone statues. And in the middle was the gigantic entity, smirking as he hears Jinwoo, saying that they will see each other once more soon enough. The scene shifts to the outside, where a person was seen rapidly clicking the mouse buttons in frustration. It was Jinho, who was taking care of the haters who were crying after getting sued for bad-mouthing Jinwoo after the Jeju Island raid. Fast forward a couple of hours. Jinho was done with most of the work and had singled out all of the groups that were slandering Jinwoo. All of a sudden, Jinwoo appeared beside him, startling Jinho, as he heard him commenting that he was working hard. Jinwoo asks if anything happened while he was away, to which Jinho tells him no and asks where he was, since his clothes were a mess. Jinwoo shows him a bag filled with magic crystals, reminding him what he said, that they needed money for their guild, which is why he entered a dungeon to take care of that problem. Looking inside the bag, Jinho was shocked to see that he managed to get his hands on high-level magical cores and asks if he entered a high-ranked gate to get these. Taking the bag, he informs Jinwoo that this was enough for now, as they won't have to worry about salaries for their employees, surprising Jinwoo, since there were only 2 of them working in this place. Jinho informs him they still need one more founding member, which was the requirement to form a guild, that it must consist of guild master, vice guild master, and the 3rd member. Jinwoo informs him that they may be looking for a person to just fill in the head count, but they still needed someone who was sincere and able to work with them. And here's Jinho saying that before they go out scouting for a member, there was one more urgent thing that they need to take care of first. Seeing the serious expression on his face, Jinwoo wonders what could that thing be and hears him saying that they still need to decide a name for their guild. Hearing him say that, Jinwoo tells him, "I thought it was something really serious," and sees him getting frustrated as Jinho tells him this was a very important matter. After all that drama, he starts suggesting some names that he had been thinking of and asks what he thinks about Sungyu Guild, which was after both of their last names, and starts babbling that, in his opinion, Yusung sounds more natural, but he can't dare to put his name before his. He also suggests Wu-Ho Guild after the last characters in their names, or Jin Guild using their middle characters, and says that Jin sounds good, but here's Jinwoo suggesting Solo Play Guild. Hearing him say that, Jinho gets startled and hears Jinwoo saying that he enters the dungeon as a solo player after all. Hearing his words, Jinho wonders if Jinwoo was trying to be funny and thinks that there was something even Jinwoo wasn't good at, since the joke didn't make him laugh. As they were still in the middle of their conversation, they hear knocking on the door. Jinho opens the door to see who it was, and hears the person asking if this place was the office of Hunter Jinwoo's guild. Jinho tells the person it was, but as he turns to see the face of the person, he gets shocked, leaving Jinwoo wondering what was going on. The one standing outside their door was none other than our hunter, Cha Haein. Seeing her there, Jinwoo was also surprised and asks for the reason for this sudden visit. Hearing his question, Cha thinks for a bit, after which she tells Jinwoo that she was there to join his guild. Fast forward. Both of them were seen sitting inside the office, where Jinwoo tells her to clarify what she was talking about, and hears her saying that it was just as she had told him. She was there to join his guild. Hearing her say that, Jinwoo fell silent while wondering what was going on here, and after thinking for a bit, he asks if the association chairman asked her to do this, but she denies. So he asks if she got kicked out of her old guild, to which Cha tells him that wasn't the case either. Hearing her answer, Jinwoo asks for the reason and asks why she wants to join his solo play guild. Hearing the name of his guild, Cha was shocked, and seeing her expression, Jinwoo asks if there was a problem with that name, and informs her he and his vice master already agreed to it, to which Jinho lashes out at him, reminding him they never agreed to anything and asks about the names that he had suggested. Seeing how both of them were reacting to the name, Jinwoo decides to settle down for now, since his judgment was still pretty clouded because the situation was confusing. After that, he turned back towards Cha, and seeing her expressions and how her pulse and breath were not normal, he realizes that she was pretending to be calm and wonders what could be the reason she was trying to join his guild. So to break the silence, he reminds her that it had been 2 years since she awakened her powers and assumes that she was still in contract with the Hunters Guild, to which Cha informs him she doesn't care about that, as she has enough money to pay the penalty. Her answer leaves Jinwoo even more confused, as she was even willing to pay the penalty. He informs her that their guild currently does not have enough resources to compensate for a hunter like her, and hears her saying that this wasn't an issue either, since she wasn't asking for a down payment either. So Suho asks her directly why she wanted to leave a big guild like Hunter's Guild and join him, since there was nothing for her to gain here. Hearing his question, she wonders how was she supposed to explain this to him and realizes that even if she explains it, it'll just sound crazy, as at first it was just the fact that his mana didn't smell like the rest of the hunters, so she was drawn by his smell. At that time, she confronted him, mistaking that he was pretending to be a hunter, but after she did a background check on him, she found out he was indeed a hunter. After that, She recalls the recent Jeju Island raid, where she came across that ant monster inside the queen's chamber, where she almost lost her life at the hands of that monster and thought that she was going to die. The story shifts back to the day they cleared Jeju Island from all those insect monsters. Regaining consciousness, she found herself on the chopper with the chairman sitting by her side. Confused, she asks the chairman where she was, who informed her that she was still inside the helicopter that had just landed at the Hunters Association, and informs her they will send her and the remaining hunters to the hospital. As she was still processing everything, a thought hits her, so she asks the chairman if it was Jinwoo who saved all of them, to which the chairman nodded, telling her yes. Hearing his answer, Cha started blushing, realizing that it wasn't a dream. Recalling everything that happened, she realized that she almost lost her life in the hands of that monster. Back in the present, she was seen wondering what she should do, and with a red face like a tomato, starts thinking that she wants to stand by his side till the end. Now I'm not an expert, but that's a confession right there. Thinking that, she starts burning up and tries to hide her face from Jinwoo. Meanwhile, our Chad had no idea why she was acting this way and wonders if it was something that she can't tell him. Looking at her blushing face, he thinks that he can tell she was trying to hide something from him and wonders what could that thing be. So to break the silence, he asks if she still isn't going to answer her question and hears her saying that she wanted to live comfortably and asks if there was something wrong with that. Jinwoo was surprised by her answer and heard Jinho whispering in his ear, saying that the Hunters Guild must have pressured her to work very hard, because of which she was planning on changing guilds. Jinwoo also starts thinking the same thing, that she was only 22 or 23 years old, and the burden of being an S rank must have been hard for her, and she also suffered greatly during the Jeju Island raid. He thinks that he can understand her situation, but still wasn't planning on recruiting her, so he tells her that there was an entrance test for their guild that she needed to pass first. Hearing him say that, Cha was surprised, since she didn't read anything like that on the recruiting notice, to which Jinwoo told her that the vice guild master must have made a mistake, since it was a new rule. He instructed Jinho to go and fetch them some drinks and snacks. After he leaves, Cha asks what kind of a test was it. Hearing her answer, Jinwoo thinks that she was being stubborn and tells her she needs to win against one of his summons. Hearing his words, Cha asks if he was underestimating her abilities, that he needed to test her abilities against one of his summons, but still not backing down, asks what kind of summon she needed to fight against, and hears Jinwoo saying that for her. He will use his strongest summon. After that, she gets up asking when will the test begin, and hears Jinwoo saying that they can do it right now and suggests that they head down to the gymnasium of the association. After that, he starts thinking that the gymnasium of the association was located far from his office, and thinks that this was the perfect chance for him to test if it was possible for two people to move using shadow exchange. By then, Cha had already reached the door, so he told her to wait, as he had a faster way. Reaching out his arm, he tells Cha that they can use a shortcut and tells her to stick together with him for a bit, leaving Cha wondering what was he planning on doing. Taking her in his arms, he activates the ability and the darkness starts enveloping both of them, and eventually, it spreads all around them as a portal appears underneath their feet, and it slowly starts to suck in both of them. Meanwhile, Jinho was seen entering the room with some snacks in hand, but as he looks inside the room, he finds a high orc standing in front of him instead of Jinwoo and Cha, and both of them share a confused glance for a bit, after which the high orc snatches the plate from Jinho's hand, and before he knows it, the thing starts munching down on the whole thing, leaving Jinho stunned. The scene shifts to the gymnasium, where both of them had teleported successfully. Looking around, Cha wonders how was something like this even possible, and seeing her expression, Jinwoo realizes that he was right about the shadow exchange skill, as it works like a gate which allows him to move with a person in it. And despite the cooldown of 3 hours, it was possible for him to travel around the world using this skill. Meanwhile, Cha was still trying to process everything and hears Jinwoo saying that they should start the test now. Hearing him say that, Cha informs him she didn't bring her weapon with her and hears Jinwoo asking if she was talking about that pickaxe, leaving the poor girl stunned and embarrassed as she recalled how she appeared in front of him during that incident inside the gate. She tries to explain it to him, and Jinwoo, seeing her expressions, couldn't help but let out a chuckle and tells her he was just joking, after which Cha prepares for the test, and wonders if she would be able to find something in the gymnasium storage that she could borrow for the fight. Opening the door, she finds the room filled with all kinds of weapons that the hunters can use, but these weren't that good compared to the ones she owns. However, these were suitable for practicing. After a minute or so, she appears in front of Jinwoo with a sword in hand, telling him she was ready. Seeing the weapon, Jinwoo asks if she was fine using that thing, since it wasn't the weapon that she usually used, and hears her saying that the weapon doesn't really matter since the monsters never fight on their terms anyway. Hearing her answer, Jinwoo realizes that she was right about that and wonders what soldier should he use, since if he used a normal soldier, it will easily get shredded into pieces. So, after thinking for a bit, he summons Igris, telling Cha that among his soldiers, he is the best swordsman. Seeing that they were ready now, Cha asks for the condition for winning or losing and hears Jinwoo saying that she either wins by destroying the summon or loses when she decides to surrender. Looking at Igris, he recalled what he told her, that he would test her using his strongest summon, but Baru was too much for her to handle. Thinking that, he gives the signal to start the test and notices her radiating with mana that she was channeling into her blade to make it stronger. Seeing her do that, a thought hits Jinwoo's head as he recalled her words, that weapons don't matter. So he instantly tells her to stop for a bit, instructing her to turn back. For a moment, Cha was surprised but decided to do as he said. After which, Jinwoo started summoning a weapon in his hand. It was the Demon King's longsword, after which he tells Cha he was ready now. After a couple of seconds, both of them got in position, and Jinwoo signals for the test to start. Hearing his command, Igris prepares to take her on with his new weapon in hand, which was an S-ranked longsword and contained the power of Baron the Demon King. Wasting no time, Igris swings the massive weapon towards Cha, and a massive surge of energy appears from the blade that shatters everything in its path. But Cha was too fast for the attack, and she easily manages to duck underneath and avoids the attack. Seeing her reaction speed, Jinwoo was impressed. As if it had been an average person, they would have died at the slightest scratch of that swing. Meanwhile, back in the fight, Cha counterattacks Igris, but he manages to block her attack using the longsword. But the sheer intensity created by their blades colliding creates shockwaves all around the room. The scene shifts to Chairman Go Gunny's office, who was working on something in silence, when all of a sudden, he senses powerful mana clashing nearby and gets startled. Looking out, he sees that the mana he was sensing was coming from the gymnasium, leaving him wondering what was going on since he doesn't recall anyone reserving the gym for today. Thinking that, he called someone, telling them to connect the CCTV footage inside the gym to his room. Looking in the screen, he finds Jinwoo and Cha standing inside the place. Seeing them there, he was surprised, wondering when did they enter the gymnasium. And all of a sudden, he recalled the day of the Jeju Island raid, when he met Cha after Jinwoo defeated the insect monsters, and recalled her face when he told her that it was Jinwoo who saved her from the insect monster. Recalling that day, he starts thinking that he was blind back then, since he didn't notice this earlier. Thinking that, he instructs the person on the other side to turn off all the CCTVs in the gym and write down that there was an inspection today. After that, he sits back down on his chair in silence, when all of a sudden, the whole place starts shaking rapidly. And after everything quiets down, he comments that, as expected, they're enjoying their youth. Back in the gymnasium, Jinwoo was seen dumbfounded as he saw Igris smashed against the wall and was defeated very easily by Cha's hands. Turning toward her, he sees her asking if this Black Knight was really the strongest soldier he had. She reminds him what he promised her, that he would test her using his strongest summon, and tells him to summon him now. Hearing her say that, Jinwoo warns her that she might get hurt, but Cha was determined as she tells Jinwoo that she wants to fight against him once again. Hearing her answer, Jinwoo starts summoning his most powerful soldier from his army, and Cha sees a massive shadow appearing behind him. In the next second, Baru appears behind Jinwoo, who is asking Cha if she was confident she would be okay. He starts wondering if he should do this, recalling that shadow soldiers were weaker compared to when they were alive. But despite that fact, Baru was different from the rest of the soldiers, as he was born as a weapon created for the sole purpose of killing hunters. So if he goes all out against her, her chances of winning would be next to none. As he was still wondering what he should do, he hears Baru asking what he wanted him to do about this person. Jinwoo instructs him to defeat her, but make sure she does not get hurt. Arriving on the stage, Baru prepares to fight and lets out a loud screech, which creates shockwaves around him. And just by the intensity of his mana released from his body, all the lights and windows of the gymnasium shatter into pieces. Sensing how powerful the creature was, Cha was stunned as she wondered how did Jinwoo fight against something like this. Meanwhile, Baru had transformed his body to take her on, with massive claws coming out of his hands. Seeing him do that, Jinwoo orders him to put those away, warning him if he injured her during the fight, he won't make life easy for him. Well, the guy is already dead, so does it really matter? Hearing his words, Baru was terrified, so he immediately retracted his claws. Seeing that he was distracted, Cha prepared to use this chance to attack, but before she could even finish that thought, Baru appeared behind her, leaving her stunned and recalling that he was using the same move from back in the cave. So thinking fast, she swung her sword towards him, asking if he thinks she was going to fall for the same trick twice. But to her shock, Baru stops her blade by simply pinching it with his claws. With that, he lets go of the sword, asking Jinwoo to give him one command to defeat his foe without causing her any harm, and he will show her the difference between their strengths and make her lose the will to fight. As he was still talking, Cha started to deliver a flurry of attacks on him, but Baru effortlessly dodges all of her attacks. Seeing him do that, Cha started sweating, but she was still not done yet, so she tried to stab him with her sword. But Baru easily got out of the way before getting hit by the sword. But little did he know, this was just what Cha was planning on doing, and seizing this opportunity, she swung her sword once more. But to her shock, Baru was much more flexible than she had thought, and he easily dodges the attack. Seeing him do that, Cha was stunned as she realized that he had been dodging all of her attacks from such a distance and without even moving from his place. Seeing her distracted, Baru turns toward her once more and starts screeching on her face, leaving Cha terrified. With that, he manages to push her back as she gets dragged across the arena. Seeing this, Jinwoo realizes that the winner has been decided, so there was no need to continue this fight. So he asked Cha if she was satisfied now. But Cha was nowhere near done, so she tells Jinwoo that she was still able to fight, leaving Jinwoo wondering what was going through her head, as he never thought she would be reckless enough to keep fighting even after realizing their difference in strength. Turning toward Baru, he thinks that Baru was different from his other shadow soldiers, as he may be intelligent, but he's still a killing machine at heart. And even now, he was able to sense him suppressing his overwhelming thirst to kill and hopes that she won't make a misstep if she was aiming for his weak spot. Seeing her getting back on her feet, Baru wasn't pleased, as he told her that at a single glance, a creature can recognize whether they are the predator or prey. With that, he leaps towards her once more, shouting that she was a prey standing up against their predator, which is something he cannot tolerate. With that, he swings his massive claws, but Cha manages to move out of the way at the last second and leaps back to create some distance between them. Turning toward him, she sees the place where his claw had landed and how easily he was ripping through the hard floor of the arena like butter. Seeing that she can't waste any more time, she activates her ability Sword Dance, and bright light starts to appear all around her. With that, she leaps back towards Baru to deliver a powerful attack on him while he was still on the ground, and manages to land a powerful hit on his shoulder, resulting in his exoskeleton cracking. But that attack had also shattered her blade, but this was also part of her plan, as she just wanted to crack the hard shell covering his body. Realizing that she doesn't have enough mana left, she thinks that she can only use this attack once, but thinks it should be enough, as she activates the skill Sword of Light. Her mana takes the form of a bright yellow blade, creating a massive sword made entirely out of mana. Wasting no time, she attacks Baru once more, and this time, she manages to drive the blade through the cracked part of his exoskeleton, leaving Baru stunned as he screams in agony. Seeing her do that, Jinwoo was terrified, as now things were about to get out of hand. Looking at Baru, he realizes that a quick and simple command just resurfaced in Baru's mind, a command that was given to him by the Queen upon his birth. By the Queen, something that he never thought would resurface in Baru's mind, the command to annihilate all enemies. With that, Baru's killing intent resurfaces, and his eyes start to glow bright red as he loses control of his thoughts. And Jinwoo hears him saying the words, This woman is my enemy. With that, he prepares to finish her off once and for all. While Cha freezes in horror, Jinwoo shouts, telling him to stop, trying to snap him back to his senses, but nothing was working. Seeing the claws coming, Cha closes her eyes, bracing for the worst, and the whole place gets covered in a massive explosion. As the dust cleared, a hand was seen grabbing onto Baru's claws. Meanwhile, Cha watched everything in horror, unable to believe that she was still alive. Looking up, she saw Jinwoo, who had managed to stop Baru at the final second. Meanwhile, Baru looked at him in confusion, unable to understand what was going on. Realizing that he almost took her life, he leaps back, while Jinwoo helps Cha back up on her feet. Turning toward Baru, he saw him on the ground, trembling in fear as he begs for forgiveness. Seeing him in such a state, Jinwoo sighs in frustration, but ignoring him for now, he turns towards Cha, asking why she was trying so hard, since there was no need for her to go to such lengths to join their guild. Hearing no answer, he reminded her that this was just a test, an entrance test for a nameless guild, and a hunter of her caliber shouldn't be risking her life over something like this. He asks her once more for the reason for doing all this and hears no answer. So finally he asks if perhaps she was interested in him, shocking Cha, as she never expected him to say that. But Jinwoo was thinking that this can't be the reason either, and wondered what else could the reason be. As he was still thinking, he heard Cha saying something. So he turns towards her and sees her blushing face as she finally confesses her feelings to Jinwoo. The story shifts to the Federal Bureau of Hunters in the USA, where Michael Connor, along with Miss Norma Selner, were seen apologizing to someone. In front of them was the director of the Federal Bureau of Hunters, David Brennan, who was telling them he didn't call them here to hear their apology and asks what happened with Jinwoo. Michael Connor informs the man that, according to Miss Selner's observation, they suspect that Hunter Jinwoo was one of the kings, leaving the man stunned as he realizes that Jinwoo was no ordinary S-rank hunter. So to confirm those words, he asks Miss Selner if she was saying that Hunter Jinwoo was as powerful as a national-level hunter. Miss Selner starts explaining to the man that all awakened hunters draw their power from a place called the other side, and the connection between the two parties is what she can sense. But sometimes the force from the other side is so intense that some hunters appear to her as streaks of blinding lights, and usually, she refers to these people as kings. David notices her trembling as she says that Jinwoo's case was different from any hunter that she had seen so far, as she did not see any connection to the other side when she entered his mind. And the moment she looked into his eyes, she saw only darkness, which was staring back at her. Listening to everything, David asks if she was saying that Jinwoo was an evil person, but Miss Selner tells him that wasn't the case. She wasn't telling him whether he was good or evil. Rather, she was trying to explain his source of power and tells the man that Hunter Sung Jinwoo doesn't borrow his strength from the other side like the rest of the hunters and does not use the connection to channel his powers. Rather, he uses his own strength, so the limitations of the connection don't apply to him. Listening to her words, Michael asks if she was saying that there was no limit to Jinwoo's powers, to which Miss Selner simply nods, confirming it. After listening to everything, David gets up from his seat, thanking Miss Selner for this valuable information. Seeing him do that, Michael asks where he was heading to and hears him saying that he was going to the basement, level 24, and tells him to follow him. After some time, both of them were seen going down the elevator to the basement, where David tells Michael that if they can't use Miss Selner's abilities to get him, then they must find another way, leaving Michael wondering what he was planning on doing. Arriving at the floor, David asks if he remembers the first ever S-rank gate that broke. Michael replies he does. It was the most catastrophic dungeon break to date, which destroyed the entire West Coast area. Because of which, America recruited the world's strongest hunters by offering them a huge reward. And out of those hunters, only 5 survived the raid, each of whom were given authority equal to that of a nation, which gave birth to the title National-Level Hunters. During that incident, a massive creature, Kamish the Dragon, which is also known as the Inextinguishable Flame, came out of the gate and was the monster that single-handedly killed hundreds of the top-ranking hunters. After that, they were seen walking toward the room, as David asks if he knows that there was a silver lining to that tragedy. Seeing him opening the door, Michael asks if he was talking about that, to which David tells him he was. As the door opens, Michael stood there in disbelief, seeing what was in front of him, as he saw a rune stone that was found in Kamish's corpse after it was taken out. David reminds him that it has been 8 years since the Kamish raid, and in that time, they were waiting for a mage-class national hunter to appear. Because of this, the rune stone had been waiting in this cold basement for its rightful owner to arrive for quite some time now. In the same room were the remains of the dragon Kamish. Looking at the thing, David informs Michael that Kamish will now bestow a valuable gift upon this beautiful country. The story shifts back to Korea, to Jinwoo's apartment. Inside was our hero, looking in the mirror in disbelief, as a girl had confessed her feelings to him. Looking at his appearance, he thinks that he can tell that since his reawakening, he has grown a few inches and gotten in better shape, but his looks were still average. He wonders if it could be because of the buff he gained that restores any damage taken to his body, because of which his skin cleared up. So to confirm, he goes to see Jaina, asking how would she rate him. She had no idea what he was talking about, so she tells him to clarify and gets surprised when he asks in terms of his attractiveness. So she asks where was all this confidence of his coming from. She tells him in her eyes he was still a bum, which seemed to have annoyed Jinwoo. After that, she starts kicking Jinwoo, so he reminds her that won't have any effect on him, reminding her he was an S-rank hunter, and tells her she will just end up breaking her leg this way. He asks how did a bird brain like her even get into school, after all that brother-sister drama. Jaina was seen telling Han Sanj about the conversation they just had, and how Jinwoo thought that he was attractive now, and adds he has finally lost it. As that was happening, she hears Jinwoo telling her he was planning on forming a new guild now. He asks her about the name he came up with for his guild, and asked what she thought about solo play guild. But Jaina wasn't very impressed with that name, and asks why would he name his guild that. She reminds him he uses his abilities to summon those shadow soldiers, so technically he's not a solo player. Jinwoo thinks she has a point and asks if she has a name in mind, to which Jaina suggests the name Ajin Guild, explaining that the character Ah means I and Jin means to go forward. Hearing her say that, Jinwoo shows a little interest in the name and hears her saying that the actual reason she chose this name was that it's her name spelled backward, and asks if he likes it. The story shifts to another apartment building, and inside was our beloved Hunter Cha, screaming while remembering today's incident. Kicking her bed, she recalled what she told Jinwoo during their conversation, and with a red face thinks that she basically confessed her feelings for him. And remembering his answer afterward, how he told her if that was the case, then joining his guild wasn't the best option for her. Recalling those words, she starts screaming, but being optimistic about everything, she says that he did save her life back on the island, so it was natural that she would be interested in him, which was perfectly normal, but falls back to the bed thinking nothing was okay. Recalling that day's incident, she thinks that it was actually Hunter Min Byung who saved her life by using his healing abilities. As she was remembering that time, she recalled something that she heard on that day. She recalled that she was drifting away in the darkness when a voice called out to her. Turning toward the one, she saw a hand grabbing onto her arm, telling her to warn him. Looking at the individual, she saw a shadow who was pulling her out of that darkness. And upon looking closer, she saw that it was Hunter Min Byung, who was asking her to tell Jinwoo to be careful and warn him of the power that lies within him. Remembering that incident, she jolts back up from the bed in shock, thinking that she needs to warn him and tell him to like this video to help the creator make more juicy content like this. Until next time, take care.